All right, let's jump right into a really fascinating and honestly pretty mysterious story from the book of Genesis. It's an encounter that kicks off with what looks like a simple act of kindness, but quickly spins into this deep conversation about impossible promises, divine judgment, and the very nature of justice itself. So try to picture this. It's the hottest part of the day, out in the plains of Mamre. You've got an old man, Abraham, just sitting by the door of his tent, trying to stay cool. And then he looks up and boom, three men are just standing there. This is how one of the most important moments of his life begins.
Now you might be thinking, yeah, I know this one. But hold on, there's this incredible layer just beneath the surface. We're about to see how Abraham's actions under this tree are a direct point-by-point reversal of a catastrophic failure that happened under another tree way back in the Garden of Eden.
So these three strangers appear out of nowhere. Let's really break down how Abraham responds, because his reaction is, well, it's not what you'd call ordinary, and it sets the stage for everything that's about to unfold. I mean, just look at the sheer scale of his welcome. He doesn't just greet them, he runs to them. This is the great patriarch, and he bows all the way to the ground. He offers water, rest, and then puts together an absolute feast. We're not talking about leftovers. He gets a tender calf, freshly baked cakes, butter, and milk. And you gotta catch that last detail. He stands by, serving them while they eat. This is more than just being polite. It's an act of radical, humble generosity. Okay, so this is where it gets really cool. This whole meal, it's like it's rewriting history. Back in Eden, the first humans saw the forbidden fruit, they took it in disobedience, and they ate it, which made them hide from God. Abraham flips every single one of those actions. He sees his guests, he runs to give hospitality, he provides a feast for them, and instead of hiding, he stands with them under the tree. It's this quiet but incredibly powerful moment of redemption. Let's shift gears a little, because once the meal's over, the conversation takes a turn. It lands on Abraham's wife Sarah, and a promise that sounds, well, completely and utterly impossible. First off, you gotta get the context here. It is absolutely everything. At this point in the story, Abraham is 99 years old. And get this, his wife, Sarah, is 90. The text is super clear about this. They are well stricken in age, and for Sarah, having children is a biological impossibility. This context is what makes what they hear next so jaw-dropping. And right then, one of the visitors, who we now understand is the Lord, makes this absolutely stunning declaration. He promises that when he returns in about a year, Sarah will have a son. Meanwhile, Sarah's inside the tent listening in on all of this. And her reaction? It's probably the most human, most relatable moment in the entire chapter. She laughs, but, it's not a happy laugh. It's this quiet, cynical little chuckle to herself. She's basically thinking, are you kidding me? Now? After my body is old and my husband's old, now I'm going to have a child? It's the kind of laugh that comes from having given up all hope. But here's the twist. That private thought? It wasn't so private. The visitor turns right to Abraham and asks, why did Sarah laugh? And just like that, the friendly guest becomes this all-knowing presence. The whole vibe of the scene just shifted big time. And then he poses this question. This is the theological heart of the whole story. It's a direct challenge to human logic, to our experience, a declaration that the normal rules of nature, they just don't apply to the one who made them. So she's caught, and she's scared. She immediately denies it. I didn't laugh, but the Lord's reply is so simple, so calm, and just absolute. No, you did laugh. And that's it. No argument. The truth is just laid out there, and the scene ends on this quiet, tense note. Okay, so after that incredibly intense personal moment, the visitors get up to leave. And the story takes the sharp, dramatic pivot from the promise of a new life to the threat of total destruction. They turn and look out towards the city of Sodom. So you have to wonder, why would God let Abraham in on his plan to judge Sodom? Well, the text tells us exactly why. God chose Abraham and his family for a specific mission, to keep the way of the Lord by doing justice and judgment. See, Abraham isn't just a spectator here. He's God's partner in bringing justice to the world. And as soon as he hears this plan, Abraham fully steps into that role. The humble host from earlier, he's gone. In his place is his bold advocate who walks right up to God and hits him with one of the gutsiest questions in the entire Bible. He basically challenges God based on his own character, asking, "Aren't you going to live up to your own standard of justice?"
What happens next isn't just Abraham pleading for mercy. It's this incredible, high-stakes negotiation, a deep, profound debate about where you draw the line between justice and mercy.
Abraham kicks it off at 50 righteous people, and God agrees. So he pushes a little. Okay, what about 45? God agrees again. And he just keeps going. 40. Yep. 30. Still yes. 20. Yes. Until finally, you can almost hear him holding his breath. He makes his final plea. What if there are only 10?
And here's the most important part of this whole exchange. At every single step of this negotiation, God says yes. Abraham thinks he's pushing God to the absolute limits of mercy, but what the conversation actually reveals is that God's mercy was always way bigger, way more expansive than Abraham ever dared to imagine.
This ancient story really leaves us with a powerful legacy. You have Abraham, a human being, standing before God and advocating, arguing for justice on behalf of others. It forces us to ask ourselves, what does this model of courageous, persistent intervention teach us about our own responsibility to speak up for what's right in the world today?